Hi, it's Aaron Redknapp here. You're listening to a proper podcast. It's the Alan Hudson Podcast. It's proper football, proper talk.
Well, hello there. Welcome back to the Alan Hudson Podcast. We've had a little break from the podcast the last few weeks while Alan's been out sunning himself in various places abroad. But we're back now, and we're back with a bang because we've got a great guest today. I'll get on to him in a minute. But first things first, a few house rules. Thanks to all those subscribers who do subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. We're grateful for your support. Any of you out there who haven't subscribed to the podcast, it'd be great if you would. Just click on the subscribe button on the YouTube channel, Alan Hudson Podcast, and that'd be great. Okay, let's get on with it. Our guest today, well, he won just about everything there was to win. European Cup winner, First Division title winner, League Cup winner. It is former Aston Villa captain, Dennis Mortimer. Welcome, Dennis.
Yeah, hello, Tony. Hello, Alan.
Hi, Dan. Good to have you back.
Yeah, I've never been away, but there you go.
Yeah, but I've been back on the show. This is the show because it's
Yes.
nice to have you on. It's great.
Yeah.
You know, it brings back a lot of old memories. Chasing you around Stamford Bridge at Coventry against Coventry, chasing you.
No, I always remember your career at Stoke better because
Well,
obviously,
that's
yeah,
how I
being
like
in the
it.
Midlands, Alan, being in the Midlands, we got you on Star Soccer every weekend. Yeah, and it was the Alan Hudson show every week.
Well,
Yeah,
it was, yeah.
It was.
It was. No, I say that. I say that because in the what I wrote the book, The Waddington Years, and a good friend of mine, Nick Hancock. Remember Nick Hancock?
Yeah.
Well, he was Stoke through and through. Anyway,
Yes.
Nick's a very good friend of mine, and he did a foreword for the book for me. And Stoke mad. He said, it was at one game, and he was close to the chairman and the chairman's son, a fella called Keith Humphreys, who I fell out with. It's the reason they never gave me the job. He didn't like me. I didn't like him. He didn't like me. He's still alive. I'm glad he's alive, and I hope this goes back to him because they're struggling. It's great. And Keith Humphreys, he said, I was just getting in my seat, and Keith Humphreys says, do you know what? He says, I'm afraid that we're becoming a one-man team. We rely so much on Hudson. So he said, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? He said, well, say he gets injured. I mean, what a negative way to look at the game.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
it's like saying Maradona might get injured. You know, what a stupid. Don't give it to him. Don't, he might turn over on his ankle or something. What a load of rubbish. But this is what Cloughie said about directors. Know nothing about football.
They know a lot more now, though, Alan. Yeah.
Well, the only reason they know a little bit more, then, is because at last they're starting to put some money into the club, aren't they?
That's why they know a little bit more. Yeah.
So they know a little bit. They think they do, but they don't.
Yeah, absolutely. They think they do. Yes,
They think they do. So they got more say. So they let Cloughie fell out with the other fella, Longston, and all that. But it was great, wasn't it? It was a great watch, and it was a great. It should have been a TV show, shouldn't it? Cloughie should have had his own TV show.
Yeah, but
him and Sam.
They probably would today because he could do a podcast just like this.
Well, he'd do a weekly show like the geezer at Freddie Styles Hamster.
Yeah.
Or Rat.
No, I mean, there's great stuff of Cloughie anyway on the internet, on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's there's great clips of him, with the players and everything. Peter Widd was with him for a while, who joined us in 81.
Yeah.
And I've read a few stories of his in his book, and Cloughie was a very interesting person. Would you get a manager like that today who's prepared to let their players have a drink at 12 o'clock at night before a game on the Saturday? I don't know.
Well, you would if they were winning everything.
Well, maybe that's what Man City do.
Well, I doubt it. I think Dennis, I truly believe we've been keep messing about with this Ferguson and Guardiola thing, who's the best, because they said he's the greatest ever and all that. I think he's ruined our game. All this passing back to the goalkeeper and 1-2s with the goalkeeper is absolute. Everyone's trying it at every level in football now. Yes. Even they're doing it on a Sunday morning now. Pub team.
Yeah. They're getting the kids to try it. Which is
mate, no, it's a no.
The game's become quite boring at times.
Yes.
I mean, that game, Man City versus Arsenal, was the worst game ever when Arsenal had a player sent off. The second half, watching that game, some people thought it was good, and it was exciting. There was nothing exciting about it. To watch Man City and every player but the goalkeeper. It was a little bit the other week, like with Barcelona, with Bayern Munich against Villa, in the European game. A lot of the time there was 21 players in Villa's half.
Yeah.
And then Villa got that great break and a great goal from Duran, which was
thank God for that. I backed him, Dennis.
Yeah. But it was a straightforward forward pass. Yeah, over the top. Duran got onto it. Keeper was off his line, which is what they are today anyway. And it was in the back of the net. And that just summed the game up, really, about how certain games are played now, especially Man City. See, I never watch Man City unless they're playing against a team who I know will attack them. If they're playing against anybody else, they have so much of the ball, I just can't watch it. I mean, don't get me wrong, they are good. They've got some great players.
Yeah, but you're touching on a nerve there, which I think probably anyone that knows anything about football would say the same thing. You can get up and pour yourself a drink or make a meal while they're still passing it about, getting nowhere. It's so predictable the way they play. They ruined Jack Grealish, ruined him. When he was at Villa, I loved him at Villa. I thought he was great. Since he's been at Man City, passing it backwards, going across goal. No.
Yeah, I listen. Was it just another case of getting Jack Grealish to Man City and stopping him going somewhere else at the time? I don't know. I mean, the City. I mean, I would love to know how many players City have on their books.
Yeah,
those that are
not as many as Chelsea.
Yeah, absolutely. Chelsea is typical. How many players do they have? Are those young players being given a chance? No. If clubs like, to me, clubs like they want players who are ready for the first team. They're not prepared to let players develop in the first team these days. I mean, how old were you when you started? 17, 18? I was 17 going on 18. I was given a chance to play in the first team. But, today, very few players get that opportunity. They all go out alone.
The only difference is, then, when you were that age, the overseas players were Scottish.
Irish and Welsh.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There weren't no overseas players.
No.
And there weren't all these agents and the Harry Redknapps of the game bringing all these people in who couldn't spell their name or pronounce their name. Or,
no, we can't spell the names.
Well, I don't know why they bother to put them on shirts. Even when you put them on the shirts, you can't spell them or pronounce them.
No, you're right.
I think we've made quite a valid point. I think it's not said enough about Man City. He keeps saying about they're the greatest and he's the greatest manager. Come on. I don't get all that. Fergie knock him out of the water. His teams. I think if they had a head-to-head of, like in America's 5-game series or something like that, Fergie would come out on top.
Yeah, I just think I think the football under Ferguson, around that era, the football was more exciting. It went from end to end. There was none of this the goalkeeper playing it out to the centre half in the 6-yard box. There was none of that. I mean, I'd love to know who actually brought that idea to the front. I'd love to know who discussed that about playing the ball out. Who thought of the idea now of actually letting the centre halves have the ball on the edge of the 6-yard box. I'd love to know who it was, Alan, you know, because it to me, when I first saw it play, I just thought, and as you say now, they're trying to get the kids to do it. Right now, which players have more kicks of the ball than anybody else?
Well,
the two centre backs and the goalkeeper.
I went to Chelsea, watched the game at Chelsea about 3 years ago, and they played Bournemouth. Eddie Howe was manager. And they would all come in with the long faces in the Osgood suite afterwards, and they were having a drink. And I'm on the table with this massive Chelsea supporter. So I said, Dick, what do you think? He went, I said, no, let me tell you what the problem is. I said, your back four have had more of the ball than your front players and your midfield players.
Yes.
You give it to your best players. You don't give it to your worst players. Your worst players on the field, the worst footballers on the field are your defenders. They can't play football. In our day, they're technically better today because they're overseas players and they love a fanny up, don't they? You know, but overall, they got the ball more times, and the goalkeeper's got the ball at his feet more than most of the players. Not Forest last night. The goalie had it, knocking about 1 foot to the other and look at right back, left back. That's not football, is it? Come on.
Well, I think the way I look at it now, I think, when you play some teams in the Premier, I think you're better off letting the goalkeeper just hit it long. I look back at the goal that Fulham scored against Villa after 5 minutes. It was a straightforward kick down the pitch. Yeah. And Jimenez got in and slotted it home. And it was just a straight ball. Now, if that's the way you're going to score against Aston Villa, why don't you do it more often when you're the team that plays them? Because they push up so high. You don't need to play out from the back. That's what they want you to do. But a lot of teams want to do that, and it just gets them into a mess. I mean, I like football when it goes from end to end, Alan, when two teams are having a go. And I just think fans today as well are very passive a lot of the time. They're not really getting behind the team simply because, if you remember in our day, if you had your goalkeeper playing out from the back or playing it to the centre half, the crowd would get onto the defenders straight away. And the defender would go, oh, I'm not having this, I'll just hit it long. Because the fans didn't want the ball in their own half. They wanted it up the other end where you could score a goal. And that was football in those days. But some people just think that long ball game, didn't have quality. But it had lots of quality, Alan. Yeah? Because, I became a coach educator and I worked for the FA. I worked for the PFA first, but I became a coach educator. And I remember when I did my A license at Lilleshall, and there was Charles Hughes was the guy at the time. And he's the guy who wrote the book about, football, and how to coach it. Anyway, we were all in there, and it was, the room was full of pros and ex-pros. And Charles Hughes came in and he gave this statement. He says, more goals are scored in 5 passes and less. Right? Now, you've got to be able to stand up to that statement, haven't you? Yeah, that more goals are scored in 5 passes or less. I know, most of the lads in the room are going, well, what about Brazil? They might have 20 passes. Yeah, they might have had 20 passes and lost the ball on the edge of the box. But what they've done, they've won it back and then scored. So that only counts as 1 pass now. So when you think about it, the quicker you can get it up there, let the opposition have it, try and win it back, boom, 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 it could be in the back of the net. But the thing about what Charles Hughes was saying, it was all about quality, about your passes, about the kind of runs you make, the quality of your sort of interaction and everything. It was nothing just ad hoc. It was actually about quality all the time. And that's what he dealt with. Today, now playing out from the back, it's very difficult for young players, particularly goalkeepers at that age, because a lot of them can't kick the ball. So the kids they probably might get turned off from the game if they're having to play like that. Because what will happen then if they keep losing goals? Someone's going to start having a go at them. The kids will lose heart. Yeah. So what you get then is a case of, well, oh, I don't want to play now, don't want to play anymore. Yeah, so it's a difficult. I think it's a difficult time for young kids to be playing because of the way they, these coaches who sometimes don't really know what it's about want kids to play football that way.
I think then I think it's wrong for parents to take their kids to football and allow coaches to do that. But to send you, I think I've had lost count of how many people come up to me and say about my kids are good. What do you think? Can you help and all this? I said, well, I can't help because nobody listens to me. But
right, no.
All I can say to you is don't let them go to a football club till they're 15 when you sign apprentice, because they're going to get all that knocked out of them. Let them go and enjoy themselves. Let them play in the streets. Let them play five-a-sides with their mates and express themselves and do that. That's the only way. But we've said on this show a million times, the coaching badges ruined our game. We had Kenny Swain on the other week, and he was talking about his coaching badges and all that. I think it's ruined our game. It's like, like a driving license, basically. It was all about money to begin with. How much is it to get your license then?
Well, listen, there's you can get your license in Wales if you want to, or Scotland or Ireland. Right, you don't have to do it with the English FA. No, the problem with the English FA, Alan, is that they've got an agenda, and it's all about the women's game.
Yeah,
right. It's all about getting more women coached up to be able to coach the young girls. All right, that's what the FA are all about. They're not about letting the ordinary guy. Plus, the fact as well is that they want all the guys who work in the pro game to be fully qualified. So, the guy like Tony Morley, his son wants to become a coach. He's a player, but he wants to become a coach. He's only 21, but he's not made it. He didn't make it as a pro, but he just plays football still. He wants to get his qualifications. He can't get on an FA course in England because they're all taken up by the people that the FA feel, are the ones that they want to get through and get qualified. So the women's game is one of them. We want more women coaches, right? So a lot of guys are missing out now. So I said to Tony Morley, send your lad to Wales. He'll get on there, and he got on straight away. Now, I'm not saying that the Welsh qualification is not the same. It's exactly the same, Alan. It's not a different qualification. It's UEFA. So you can go to Wales and you get your qualification just like you can here, but at least you can get on a course over there in Wales, in Ireland, probably in Scotland as well. But the FA, they put these sort of barriers up nowadays because they want certain people to be involved and certain areas to be developed. And that's not right. Not in any game.
It's funny you say that. I mean, it's interesting you say that. It's something that we never knew. First time I heard it, but I'm not surprised at all. Nothing they do surprise me. But I went to a luncheon last week. We have an annual Matthew Harding lunch.
Right.
Only about 14 people. They used to work with Matthew in the city when he was getting all the money, and great fella. I loved him. And they were all putting they've all got these theories, they're all Chelsea mad, and I'm the outsider, always the outsider, because I'm the most hated man ever played for Chelsea. I should have if it had been Western, I'd have my photos on,
Alan, how can you be the most hated man who played for Chelsea?
Well, I can't. I go to Chelsea a couple of times.
Is it because you speak your mind?
Well, it's because I'm still getting blamed for what they did to me 50 odd years ago. They did it. They're the villains, and I've ended up as a villain. But I don't care because that's norm for me. If anything happens around me or anything goes wrong anywhere, it's him, and my name's my name crops up. But I turned around to these people and I said, "You're doing all this thing about it." I said, "Do you realise in a few years' time, you keep planning all this, that the women's game will become bigger than the men's? It will become all the women you see 50,000 women walking into Stamford Bridge, Villa Park, wherever, Old Trafford, and the men will be carrying the bags behind them, you know. That's the way football's going.
Yeah. Alan, the trouble is with the women's game is it is so subsidized. It's the only way it can survive. Yeah.
Well, I know. I mean, I brought up the point about my son was the USA coach for a little while,
Right.
and he was telling me and his brother Alan. He says, you know, they're running out of money because they haven't paid the women yet.
Yes.
But they had the big case, didn't they? They,
Yes.
you know, and they won their case, rightfully
Yes.
so, because the women's team were getting more people. They were getting bigger crowds than the men's.
Yeah,
football.
but that was in the USA. It's not.
Well, the
it doesn't
USA,
happen here.
we've always followed what the USA have done.
No, we haven't.
Of course we have. Happy hour. Where do we get happy hour from?
I don't know. What is happy hour?
Yeah, see what I mean? You live too far up north, mate. Happy. But anyway, we don't want to talk about the women's game because we're adding fuel to the fire. But
well, we need to because
I know I do. I must say one thing, and I've said it to everybody that you know this thing with Southgate and when we played Italy in the finals. The Euros, and I sat with my mate Don Shanks. We were sitting down at the casino, and when England scored after 4 minutes, we went, this is going to be 5 or 6, you know. They were hopeless, the Italians, and they were running scared. And he went defensive, Southgate, and he brought a couple of defenders on, tried to hold on the 1-0 lead. Now, when I watch the women in the Euros, their coach is cute. She's good. If our men have had the women's coach who won the Euros, we would have slaughtered Italy because she got the right attitude. Go forward, go and get them. They had 2 centre-halves who are older than me. They're 2 centre-halves, right. About 80 between them or something, right. You know. And he's gone defensive. But we don't want to stick on that subject too long. But no. I believe that English coach, the girl that coaches England, if she would have been in charge of the men's team in that particular European Championship, we would have won our first championships in 1966. And how would she have been? You know, she would be the greatest. You know, then all of a sudden the floodgates would have opened. The women are better than the men. But anyway,
well, can I just? People are going to look at my picture on here and wonder what the hell I'm doing. So I've got to get involved at some point.
Yes.
What you just said there, Alan, it leads me to ask both of you, this would have been unheard of 40, 50 years ago when you were in your pomp, but can you see the day when a female manager takes control of a Premier League team, for instance?
I can. Yeah.
Sorry, no. Yeah. If it won't happen in my lifetime, Tony. So what I'm saying is that I don't know how long
have you got bad news or something to tell us?
No. But what I'm saying is it won't happen in my life. I never did. I just don't think it would be the way forward. Honestly, I don't.
Well, did you ever think? I tell you with them glasses on, you remind me of Robert De Niro with them glasses.
Is that right?
I'm trying to work out who you remind me of them.
Well, you know who he looks like? He looks like Ken Bates.
Ken Bates.
This is
my honest opinion of England manager, is that we've got to get away thinking that it's got to be English for a start, because we haven't got the ex-players who've gone into management who have got the experience. I mean, I look at Unai Emery at Villa Park now, and the job he's doing is 3 times, 4 times more than anybody else. I mean, before him was Stevie Gerrard. Now everyone thought Stevie Gerrard went to Scotland, won the championship with Rangers, and everyone thought now that he was the man to bring down to Villa Park and he would make it happen. But there's only 2 teams in Scotland, Rangers and Celtic. So that's all you've got to combat against. Down in England now, Stevie Gerrard he's got 18, 20 teams that he's got to fight against, every week. Because the Premier League is tough. This guy's come in now, Emery, and he's turned Villa round to position now where they play Bologna tomorrow in the Champions League. They've got a good chance of winning that, and now have 9 points from 3 games, which is incredible, really. They could be in the top part. They'll be in the top half or the top 8 teams by the end of this tournament. Initial games, they could be in that top 8, and it's all because of that man. He's changed them round, and he's got the team playing exactly how he knows how he can win games, and that's what's happened. And so, is there something about the foreign managers that maybe they start lower and work a lot more in the lower teams to get that experience? What you tend to find in England is that we tend to push younger guys into jobs in the Premier League when they're not quite ready, i.e. Steve Gerrard. He wasn't ready for Aston Villa. And that was shown up in, obviously, the inadequacies from the point of view of not winning enough games and doing the job he was asked to do. So maybe, people like Tuchel now, who's taken over, he's done his apprenticeship. He started very early as a coach. And I just feel he's the right man simply because he's got the badges. I don't mean the badges from the point of view of his coaching. I mean from the point of view of what he's won, what he's been successful at as a manager. To me, he was the right man. We haven't got an Englishman at the moment who actually has got the same quality as what he's got.
This show's going to be no good, Tony, I told you, because we're going to agree on everything. We got to have an argument. Now, while you were trying to get on, I said to Tony, we got to do the Tuchel thing up because it seems people exactly. I agree with every single word you said there. Then I read Harry the other day saying there's 5 or 6 English people I'd have put. Exactly what you say. I mean, look, you're dreaming. Is that because Harry's a good friend? I believe Harry should have got the England job. I really do, because he would have picked our best players. That's all I can say about him. He was like a double of Venables without being
Well, when you talk about our best players, I think the problem with our teams now is that they all play a different system. And when you put them all together, you remember the Lampard-Gerrard scenario? We never actually got them playing like they played for their football clubs, their own teams, and setting everything on fire, from that midfield area. I think this is the problem with England team. There's too many players who play in a different system because we've got so many what you could call foreign players here who are taking up positions now where we would like to see maybe an Englishman, an Irishman, a Scotsman. I mean, look at the Scots in the Euros. We don't need to talk about them, but I'm saying, the quality we used to get from Scotland was phenomenal. And now we're not getting that. Why are we not getting it? Why are they not coming down to England? Why are they not playing in England? Why are they not setting teams alight down here? I just think the problem is that if you play Harry Kane as the centre forward for England and then bring on Ollie Watkins to take his place, the players then all have to adjust on how they're going to play the game. Because Kane can have the ball to his feet. Ollie Watkins does his best work when he gets the ball played behind defenders and runs onto it. And that's the difference, you see. The players in the team then have to readjust how they're going to play. How can the manager have so many? The manager can't train that many different systems while he's got the players together and saying, "Okay, we'll play like Man City this game."
The point is taken, then, and I know you've trying to take over the show all of a sudden. I think what he done wrong. What you're saying is common sense of what you've just said is to play both of them. I said in the last Euros, why shouldn't we? I mean, Harry was on the show. I said it when someone was on the show, Matt Letizia. I said he should have brought. I think there might have been a game coming up. He's got to bring Watkins in to change it, to play up. Harry Kane looked like an old man. He played. I thought his old steptoe playing, but put on a bit of weight. He was hopeless when he was hopeless. He should have been left out. He was burnt out.
He had a bad Euro. He had a bad
yeah, but he should have been before that. He was, he didn't look right. He looked, but an on-form Harry Kane. I love Harry Kane. I think he's the best in the world when he's on his game. Played in the right team, the right way, but not for England. Not under that kind of
I totally agree. The England, he just, when he was at Tottenham, they had a system. Him and Son, different class. Different class.
Absolutely. And this kid, he don't really. I wouldn't really compare Watkins with Son because they're two completely different players. This is one hell of a player. This Watkins.
Yes.
He's one hell of a player. You watch him more than me, but I've watched him. What they've done with him, from Brentford or whatever, and the way he learnt his trade and the way this kid gives you everything, but he's got quality.
Yeah. See, when he came to the football club, he came from Brentford and he scored a lot of goals. And then he struggled when he came to Villa because he wasn't in the 6-yard box to score goals. He was out the box. He was picking the ball up on the wing and then trying to cut inside. He wasn't concentrating on working between the lines of the 18-yard box. He was getting taken out wide when he shouldn't have been. He needed to be in the box so he could score the goals that he was good at. And that's what he's doing now. He's scoring a lot of goals in the penalty area.
I think it's, going back to the one with Harry, I mean, it'd be the perfect fall for Harry. The flick-ons, everything, the what Son used to do for Harry, he used to do all his leg work, didn't he? Not that Harry was no slouch, but Watkins would be fantastic. An even better player was someone like Harry Kane up front playing off him, I think the two of them in the Euros, if them two had played together, although I said he's probably should have put Ivan Toney up there in the end and played with Watkins, that would make.
Well, he could have done. He could have done.
Well, just the way that Harry was so poor.
Yes, but I go back to that thing about the way teams play themselves. The likes of Liverpool and Man City and all the others. They play different systems, and that's the problem. Is that because of those systems, you can't just bring Harry Kane. You can't just play Harry Kane with Ollie Watkins. It takes, yourself, Alan. You have to work at that every day in training.
I didn't.
No, well, you were different. Yeah, you were wired different. Anyway, your Chelsea team was wired different. Anyway,
Well, they were, but that was because we played off the cuff. But,
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
but I must tell you one thing about the Steve Gerrard, Frank Lampard situation. I remember my first trip with Ramsey, and he always used to say, "I want you to play for me like you play for your club, exactly the same." And they were the truest words any man could ever say, because that is why he's picked you.
Yes.
Now, when them two played together, if Frank and Steve Gerrard played like they played for their clubs, they'd be running into each other.
Yes.
They'd be bumping heads. They're so identical, it's untrue. Only Frank was superior around the other side, the other teams. The greatest, probably the greatest English player ever to be round the other team's box, picking up loose balls and shooting. His ratio of goals per shot, it knocked all these silly stats out of ridiculous. He hardly missed. I hardly see him miss. I didn't use to watch Chelsea home and away, but it isn't the goals he scored. It's the goals he scored from the amount of shots he had, and he scored all kinds of goals. But I think that was why Liverpool people will argue why Chelsea wanted. I mean, that's another stupid one. Chelsea tried to buy Gerrard. The deal was done. Until Gerrard got the death threat.
Yeah.
But him and Frank playing for Chelsea, they would have been no good whatsoever. Because he would be doing Frank's role. Well.
Yeah.
So you've got to get that blend, haven't you? You in any team. What you're saying about, the systems that they wouldn't know what to do. I really don't think they can think for themselves. This England team there's only one player on the field who really knows what he's doing, and that's Palmer. This kid, he just needs to be left alone and just go and play.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, that's his game, isn't it? Yeah. He's got to be able to flow. Yeah.
The rest can't think for themselves. You know,
No.
they're told what to do and they do it.
Yeah.
Well, that's no good, you know.
Well, yeah, but you see, if you want to be in the team, though, if you want to be in the team,
I wouldn't want to be in. I'd rather not.
I mean, here's a question to you, Alan. Would you sing the national anthem?
I don't know it.
Well, it's good enough.
I'm not royal. No, I mean that was an own goal. Carsley was an own goal, wasn't it? You know, it was. He had the perfect opportunity, Carsley. He's supposed all these coaching badges. You got nothing up there, you know. He had the opportunity.
He did.
When to play Ireland to turn around and say, our country's in turmoil. Scotland, Ireland, Wales, there's going to be a war coming up. We're on the brink of a war. Why don't all us British stick together? There won't be no national anthems. Let's get on with it. And that would have been a great way out. And the whole country would have went, yeah, stick together. You know, because we're so gullible, you know, whatever you're going to do, if he'd have turned around and said, one manager did say it, some stupid manager, you've got to learn the national anthem, and say, who gives them monkeys about that?
That was Southgate, wasn't it?
Well, might have been.
He was the one that started it off.
A song sheet, yeah.
He just wanted that to happen. So
well,
anyway.
you just ruined the second part of the show because you already said about Tuchel what I was going to say about him. So.
Well, listen. Look, there's been far too much agreement on this show today. It's getting nauseating.
Yeah.
But I want maybe Dennis will have a different opinion on the Lampard-Gerrard debate than you, because you clearly think that Lampard was the most effective of the two. I dare say Dennis, with his Merseyside background, would probably take a different view.
Yeah, well, I would do, because as I say, though, Tony, it's playing in a team that you know exactly what every player. Listen, when we played against Liverpool in my day, every player had a role to play in their team, and they played it to perfection every game. That's why they were so good. Man United were the same under Ferguson. The players knew exactly where their strengths were, and Ferguson made sure that they played that way week in and week out. But they had great talent. I remember when Rooney joined them. I remember his first game. It was a European game, and I think he scored an hat-trick. And this was a raw guy, only 18, 19, coming into now, playing in the European Cup, and he scores an hat-trick. And I thought to myself, what a great player that guy is, But he was playing in a team that allowed him to become and play, that set him up to be able to score goals. And as Alan said before, the England players, they go out there under rules, a set of rules that this is what you've got to do. When you play for your own club, sometimes you know yourself that you can go beyond those rules, because other players understand that, because you play with him week in and week out, you can understand sometimes that a player has got the ability to get forward more often than he would do if he was playing for England. Now, my game was all about bursting forward. Alan's was about getting the ball from the back and dribbling it, coming out with it. Mine was the other way, where I would like to play the ball through the thirds, but at the same time, if teams pushed up, I was always looking then to get behind them, and this was my game. But that probably might have been one of the reasons why I didn't get a chance to get an England cap, Tony. It's because my game didn't suit the England team, right?
No, you never got in the England team, Clark, because of most players in the Midlands didn't. It was all about Football in them days. You remember when Manchester United, there was 6 Manchester United players and 5 Liverpool players, and then it was either London and Liverpool, or London and Manchester. I played it. I played with people at 2 or 3 players at Stoke, mate. That they were in a. I played it in the Birmingham disaster one night, and Revy was in charge. And a lad called Alan Dodd who played for us at Stoke. I've never seen him do anything wrong in any match I've ever played in it. And he was outstanding this night. It was only a game, but it wasn't a game.
Yes.
Everyone wanted to impress Revy, except me. And I come off the field after, and Alan Dodd sat in the corner, and I looked at him and I went, and he never said to him, "Well done, thanks for coming." Nothing. No. He walked out the dressing room back to Stoke, and I went to my governor. I said, "Tone," I said, "he was unbelievable the other night again."
Yes.
And Revy said nothing because he played for Stoke. If he'd been centre half for Arsenal or Liverpool or Manchester United, Alan Bloor played at Stoke for years. What a player he was,
Yes.
Big, strong boy.
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah.
Good play,
Played against him a lot. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The Greenhoffs of this world, I was saying to Kenny Swain the other day, which it's the point I was going to bring up to you. He played for Forest.
Yes.
And I said to him, that I thought that Villa were a far better team than Forest by winning. And he didn't agree. He thought, but mainly, probably what swayed it with him was that they went back and done it again. Yes. But that doesn't wash with me. That don't, they could have won it every year with that team. It still don't make them good players, They had take John Robertson out of the team, A lot of people say take Shilton out of the team, but they built the team around the goalkeeper.
Yeah, take Shilton out of the team, mate.
Well, Robbo would have been great. He was good. He would have been great in any team. He was like a Brazilian, wasn't he? But
he was good. Yeah.
But Shilton was no good for us.
No.
We'd have won the league if it weren't for him. If we'd have had John Farmer in goal, we'd have won the league. Or Gordon Banks hadn't done his eye, we'd have won the league. And
Yes.
So, but Kenny, surprisingly, he surprised me. And then I said to him, "Do you live closer to Nottingham than you do to Birmingham?" And he went, "No, I don't actually." I went, "Oh, well, I just thought you had more friends in Nottingham than you do in Villa way." But I was surprised to hear him say that because, I said, no, individually, I mentioned yourself, I mentioned Cowens, I mentioned young Gary, bless him.
Tony Morley. See, Tony Morley was he wasn't there long enough, Alan, to really he was only there for 3 or 4 years, and he should have been there a lot longer, but a certain guy came back to the football club who wanted to get rid of the more expensive players from the point of view of wages, But wages were we were of all the Midlands teams in the Central Midlands, Wolves, Birmingham, West Brom, ourselves, we were the least paid of all of them. Ron Saunders, our manager, used to make you think that you were being paid a lot of money, but when you found out later on, like Ken McNaught was telling me when he went to West Brom, the players over there were on twice as much as us, some of them, which was a lot of money, and and they hadn't won anything, and so you go through your life thinking that you're doing well, from the point of view and being paid, but then you find out later on how other people were paying, saying, "Crikey, we thought we were being paid, so our manager did a really good job on us." Yeah.
Well,
I mean, when you moved from Chelsea and you went to Stoke, the difference between what Chelsea were paying and what Stoke were paying, was there a difference?
Well, there was, but I'll tell you another story, which is very similar to what you're saying. Is managers can, get to you, but he didn't get to me because it was the beginning of my falling out with Sexton. It was. I remember the end. They won the Cup Winners' Cup in '71. I think my contract was up, and then I had to go in. I remember Ozzy saying his was up, so 2 or 3 was there going. I went in there and I said about my new contract, and he went, I said, look, he said, what were you looking at? So I said, well, to be perfectly honest, I said, I think everyone should be on nearly the same, you know. I said, there's older players, younger players, but we're all 11th part of the team, you know. I don't want no more than anyone else. I don't want any less than anyone else. I don't think I'm better than anyone else. It's a team game. That's the way I look at it. And that's the way I would treat my players. You're all on the same. Yes. Don't care. If you want to give extra for goal scores or assists or penalty saves or goalkeeper, all that. Well, he said to me, this is why he couldn't manage. This is why he was a coach. He said to me, when you can come in here and put 6 international caps on my desk, you can start demanding.
Okay.
I went, oh, so it's what you do for your country, not what you do for your club. So I went away and I didn't. So I don't think I signed, or I might have signed a little bit later, whatever. I thought, well, fuck him, you know. You know. And then all of a sudden, when I got back to Stoke in 1983, I'd left Seattle and gone back to Stoke. I was on my biggest wage in England, which was £500 a week. But I'd still only had 2 caps.
Yes.
If I'd have stayed at Chelsea, I'd have still been on £75 a week 12 years later because I didn't have 6 caps. So how do you know, that is what we're faced with these managers. Someone's got to turn around and, you know, get together and say, you know, we tried it one day with Sexton. We were on tour. We want to speak to Dave. He'd be down in half hour. He never turned up, you know. Yeah. He's all right one-on-one, but with you know, but he couldn't lie to everybody then, you know, but one-on-one. But so, you know, they're the things that people out there don't know with management, you know. But,
well, it wasn't those days because I think their hands were tied as well because the manager was managing the club.
That's not our fault.
No, it's not our fault. No, far from it. But the thing is that they would be told, well, this is how much money you've got to spend. You divvy it up as best you can. Yeah. And you just make sure that if now someone has to have less than someone else who's in the team, how do you make it up? Well, what you say to them, you say, well, I'll give you 100 quid and I'll give you 25 quid appearance. So that appearance money now made the player think, oh, that's like a little bonus. And we used to have that in our day. Yeah. And when I started, it was we only had 1-year contracts all the time. It wasn't until we won, when I was at what's the name at Villa, when we won the League Cup in '77, that we actually got offered a better than a 1-year contract. We actually got offered a 3-year contract because the manager realised that he wanted to keep now the players that he had as long as he could. So in those days, Al, it was difficult really because
no.
As a player, you couldn't go in with an agent or anybody because you didn't have an agent. So you couldn't let that guy do it for you because you know what managers were like. You know, they just look at you. If you said, I want this, they just look at you and you start to think, oh, he's not saying anything. He's not saying anything. So that means he doesn't think I'm worth it. So you sort of back off. You back up and say, well, maybe not that much. Yeah, maybe a couple of quid less. But they sort of looked at you in a way which you think, well, who do you think you are? Well, you know who you are. You know that you're the best player he's got in the football club in that position. So he needs you. But it still didn't matter to him as the manager. Well, he had a different agenda most of the time. Yeah, and it was tough. Nowadays, the coach doesn't do that now. He's a coach. The manager's not a manager. He's a coach now.
Someone upstairs, yeah.
Yeah, they don't get involved with all that rubbish now. So they don't have to worry about, all they have to worry about and think about now is getting the best team on the football pitch week in and week out. Yeah. Ron Saunders, when Tony Waddington might have been the same, he ran the football club. He ran the football club.
So when I signed for Tony said to me, well, the first time I met him in Russell Square, he said to me, we never spoke about money. always spoke about all the players he signed, the Greenocks, the Violets, the Verders, the Matthews, you know, and he won me over. He said, don't worry about money, I will look after you. And in the 4 years I was there, he looked after me.
Yes.
It's never a problem. We never spoke about money. I didn't even know what I was on in the end because it didn't really bother me too much, you know. Other players are different from other players, but I just wanted to play. I wanted to get my life back together, which was ruined at Chelsea by them. So and I got it back, and that was worth all the money in the world. But I was happy.
Yes.
Happy player's a good player, then, yeah?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But I must tell you a story about, well, sorry, Tom, that about talking about bonuses. When the second year in Europe, he said, Sexton said, the good news is we're on a crowd bonus. When we play in Europe, we get anything over 20,000 people, you're on £10 or whatever, 1,000 or whatever, you know, and this and that. And our first game we played was warming up, and I swear to God, Marvin Hinton was counting the crowd. He was staring into the crowd. We were knocking the balls about, and when someone knocked the ball to Marvin, and he was looking in the crowd like that. And I thought, who's he know up there? Because the stands over there. And I think he was counting the people as they were coming in, you know, because he was a ticket. Marvin was a ticket spiff, you know. He was he used to look after the tickets and all that.
I mean, listen, he obviously wasn't on the same money as you, Alan. Yeah, that's why. He was that's why he was counting.
Well, if he was on more money, good luck to him, because I loved him, so it didn't really matter to me. But as long as people I didn't like was on more money than me, and there's a couple of them.
Right, before we draw the podcast to a close, and thanks once again to Dennis for giving us all his time today. I just want to, I can't let this opportunity go by without asking Dennis, with Villa doing so well at the moment, flying high in the league, doing exceptionally well in the Champions League. Of course, you'll be going tonight to the Bologna game, no doubt. I've got to ask you to compare today's team with the team that you excelled in, the one that won the first division in 1981 and the team that won the European Cup in 82. How would you compare the two sides, Dennis?
The answer to that, Tony, is I wouldn't. I couldn't. You're different era, yeah? It's like asking Alan, what is Chelsea's side? It's Chelsea's side when I played against them and I watched them, and they were brilliant. They had so many, Charlie Cook, Peter Osgood, you know, Chopper Harris at the back. You know, they had a great team. Peter Benetti in goal. Compared it to today's team, you can't do it, because if we are able now to take those players and give them everything what the players have got today, i.e., the physios, the analysis, the training coaches and all that. If you gave them all that, and then you matched them, you'd find very, very little difference between them. The only difference would be is the way that the team played in the 70s as against the way they play today, right? But the comparison is only, you can only compare really, Tony, is when a team wins something. So if a team goes on to, so if Aston Villa go on and win something really special this season, and do something special, they could end up in the semi-finals of the Champions League. They could end up in the semi-final of the FA Cup. They could finish second in the league, but they haven't got a trophy. So how do you determine then whether they were better than a team in 1980, 81, 82 than a team today? The comparisons would need, you'd have to get artificial intelligence to put what we had into that, put all the X factors that they've got now, and then see whether all the X factors that they put on us, how would they compete with today's team? Yeah. Not only that, and he'll tell you, Alan, what about the football pitches we played on? Unbelievable. Mud. Yeah. Rain. The pitches had a diamond in the middle, which was just mud, no grass on it. And we had to play through that. Look at the pitches today. They're unbelievable. Everything about the game today is like, it's 6-star, 7-star. when we were playing, it was 2-star. You know, you look at the training grounds they've got now; they're unbelievable. Yeah, incredible places they've got now. You know,
I like it when they miss a chance. They miss an open goal a day. They look at the floor.
Listen, it's on. There's no way to compare to. You know, it's like people ask me about who was the best player I played against. I didn't have a best player I played against. Who was the hardest player you played against? I didn't have a hardest player against. Simply because I felt to myself, well, they probably feel the same about when they're playing us. We're just as hard to play against as what they are. But I never picked anyone out, really. You know, my big story is when people ask me, and I've been asked this before, and I might have mentioned this to you, Alan. There's a guy at Villa Park who used to always ask me, Alan Hudson or Glenn Hoddle, right? And I said Alan Hudson, yeah. And I clarified that because of the way he played, yeah, and what he gave to a team, right? Not Glenn Hoddle, yeah. Now, Glenn was a great footballer, a great two-footed football and all that. But from sheer excitement at times, you couldn't beat Alan. The way he would bring the ball out from the back and dribble forward, bring it forward, 1-2s and stuff like that, and link the passes, yeah. Glenn was that individual player that would give you a great goal occasionally. I mean, Alan, how many goals did you score? Can you remember?
Yeah, not a lot, mate. When I did score, they were good.
Yes, well, of course you were.
But I'm serious about that. But I was two different players. When I played for Chelsea, it was all about, especially the first season, it was all about Osgood and Hutchinson. It was all, you know, your first, you know, you get a bit of space and it was get it into Ozzy, get it into Hutch, you know, but Ozzy mainly. But it was all about creating goals for them. I think they scored in the first season between them 70 goals.
Yeah.
So why would you want anyone else? You can't look around the team and say, "Fucking, you're not scoring enough." We were doing enough because the balls were going in and they were.
Yes.
Nobby Houseman was putting them there. Charlie was beating people, creating, and then all of a sudden you get into that way of playing, as you say, in the system, and when Ozzy, the problem was, I said to Tony earlier on, that when Ozzy didn't play, you know, Sexton did this interview about him, who was disgusted with him, said he didn't work hard enough. If he had took Osgood out of our team, mate, we wouldn't have won no FA Cup. Yeah. We wouldn't have won no European Cup with us Cup. That would have brought a bit of Peter Osgood home to Dave Sexton, trust me. And I'm sorry to speak about him. He's not here, but if he was in the room now, I could have an argument with him all day and he'd lose. Yeah. He would lose. Yeah. Because he's a boxer. He might want to take me outside and fight me like he did with Ozzy. But anyway, we're up. It's great having you on. Listen, next time then, try and tune in about half hour earlier so we can... No,
I've got it now. I've sorted. I've got a laptop. I've got it sorted now. No problem.
Well, one last very quick one. What's your score prediction for tonight, Dennis? Villa against Bologna.
Well, I think Villa are good enough to win it, but you just don't know what Bologna are going to be. I'm looking at their league record so far. They've drawn 6 and won 1 and drawn and lost 1. So it could be one of those typical Italian games where good defensively. Yeah, so Villa might have to be on the game today. But listen, you can never tell, Tony. European games, you just don't know what you're going to meet. You just don't know.
Do you think then that Bayern was a little bit of their European Cup final? It was a big win.
Oh no! Listen, it was massive. It was massive.
That's what I'm saying about today. Might be a little bit of a.
No, I don't think so. I think the manager's down. The manager's got it all sorted. The manager will not let them rest. Are
you related to this fella? Are you got any Spanish blood?
No, he's done a great job. You got to admit he's done a great job at the football club, and
that must have been his twin brother at Arsenal, mustn't it?
Yeah. And listen, that's right. Yeah, listen, the fans are buzzing. You know, they love what's happening, and they'll be there tonight. And you know, having the first game in the Champions League at home to Bayern Munich was like a dream come true for the club, really.
And me.
And they won it, you know.
Yeah.
So the fans they're really sort of fired up, you know. So
and that Duran is so good they named him twice.
Yes.
Oh dear. On that terrible note, we'll draw a halt to proceed.
Well, he won me money, Tony. Sorry.
Okay.
I back Miller, and good luck, Dennis. Great to see you.
And you, Alan.
We'll do it again. We'll do it again.
Yeah. Speak soon.
Thanks again, Dennis. Thanks, Al. And we'll be back.
I've got a rush.
We're back on the podcast very soon.
Good luck, Dan.
Thanks very much for watching. Thanks very much for listening. Goodbye.